Parkour is a staple part of the Assassin's Creed series and almost a video game feature made famous by Assassin's Creed. The act of being able to climb anything, anywhere at any given time was a marvelous experience from my childhood. The gameplay skill of these older games was generally crazy as no game had done this before, and even now. Not just an open world game, but one where you can interact with on a large scale. A world that allows for every window, every crack in a building, every ledge, every rooftop to become accessible to you, to become a handhold for you to use for traversal. Assassin's Creed has undergone a ton of changes, for better or worse, from helpful addition to silly additions, and I don't think Assassin's Creed has ever necessarily had a bad parkour system. I think the closest it got to pure failure was probably Syndicate, and onwards, as much as like Origin, parkour system is beyond basic, and doesn't offer a great deal, and obviously same goes for Odyssey, but even worse because of no fall damage. While Valhalla is same as Origin, with basic movement and terrible level design for parkour in mind. So what made the original parkour system so good in the first place? The player control in the OG games allow for incredible player agency, like if you want to run up a wall and cancel out, and you don't ever have to commit and watch the animation play out if you want to spring off the wall at any point during the climb, and you can combine that with other techniques in order to reach climbing spots easier and faster. You have so much control over where you do and don't jump, and it's always up to you. The game never chooses for you, whereas in Assassin's Creed 3, the game introduced the feature where if you run up to the edge, you'll stop if there's no safe distance to land, which might sound like a great idea, but you'll never fall to your death accidentally, so where's the risk in that? Where's the fun in climbing if it's so completely safe? But in Assassin's Creed 3, at least you can use the jump button again to jump off the building, unlike in Syndicate, where if you choose to fling yourself off, you literally can't. The game doesn't allow you to. The OG games allow for player agency and choice, but also risk and reward, because it doesn't treat parkour as a method from getting to point A to point B, but as an intrinsic gameplay feature where your goal for parkour is to go on the fly. Choose the best route possible, and one that causes the least damage. One that keeps your momentum going, and in doing so allows the player to get better and better at the system. Any good gameplay system is where the gameplay offers a reward for risk you're putting in. All activities in the open world and all traversal options prepare the player to get through the tomb missions, from the assassin tombs to the Romanos lairs to what I consider the best tomb in the franchise in Revelation. Tomb mission was a reward for player who mastered the parkour, and one wrong move and the game made sure that you never forget it. These tombs levels were purely made to utilize the parkour system to its fullest mastery, because every move you make in these games is determined by the player. So you're choosing where to go and how you make your route faster or slower depending on your own skill level with the parkour system, where you have to be active in the way you move, from making sure to grab ledges, remembering to back eject at certain points, at certain angle, jumping certain angles correctly, and properly judging if you can make particular leaps. Before doing so, you have to be active in the parkour system, which is why these levels work. Now after Ezio trilogy, parkour becomes more passive, and although climbing a structure can still have the meaning of general movement of parkour, and to be honest, most of the mechanics including combat become tied to very specific animation, and in doing so, the game looks nice, and so does the cinematic nature is enhanced, but you lose a lot of the active control, which is why in the newer games, we don't see the Assassin Tombs mission returning. The new system doesn't allow for it. You're essentially pushing buttons and watching animation play out rather than directly interacting with the parkour, the same as the first 4 games in the series. No longer do you need to worry about whether a jump is safe. The game will just stop you to let you know whether it's a safe jump, or you no longer have to angle the jump, because the game will just lock you into a specific point in the world. No longer one can string moves together to cancel out the wall run to jump to a higher ledge. You have to watch the animation play out, because that's how it's built post Ezio trilogy. In making the parkour look cooler and more cinematic, you lose so much control and so much value in the parkour system. Parkour becomes a very on-the-rail experience. The OG game's inputs are 100% done from this low-profile mode to high-profile. The Ezio or also here jumping off the building or climbing the wall is all done by the player, because these games had very specific input to do this action. These games simply did not hold your hands. Now let's talk about for whom some of the AC fans consider the best parkour in the series. Now look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but Unity is an alright parkour system with very flashy animation when it works, the keyword being one. The game went too much into being cinematic and visual experience over player agency. The starting animation for parkour just takes too long and doesn't allow for cancellation. Unity in general is just too slow and sluggish, and it doesn't really allow for any of the ease of movement that the classic Assassin's Creed games do. The fact that you're safe from edges of buildings, and the fact that you lock into objects and the game doing the majority of work for you, makes it feel like an on-the-rail experience rather than a fun minigame of you deciding how fast and flashy you want to traverse around the city districts. Despite critiquing the parkour system and overall quality of Unity being an okay experience, I still enjoy the parkour and general feel of the movement of the game overall. Sure, it's not good as the original system, but it's still a fun experience nonetheless. But unfortunately, the fun ends here. The RPG trilogy system removed everything that made the parkour system great, and removed all the identity of the great Assassin's Creed movement that has built up over the years of, you being a fast, stuffy assassin fantasy, replaced with the most basic and bare-bone form of movement ever. It's just so basic and has no depth to talk about. You just climb over everything, which just makes no sense. Like, what is my character climbing here? Or what is there to grab onto here? It just makes no sense. Well, at least Mirage looks quite decent.